Clips. And remember, citizens, the only way to survive and thrive is to subscribe, hit the bell. 1995! Plus, shipping and handling will keep you out of here. Alrighty, Bib Chibs, another one of Gips Clips. Hopefully you've had a good weekend. The mic a chick, the mic a chick, the mic a chick, the mic a chick. Yep, everything seems to be working. So, going to subject myself to the Sunday view of the news. So I'm going to have a wee look at the news. So we'll have a look at the BBC and RT. West meets East. Same shit, different narrative, different story. So we'll have a look and see what they're both saying to it. A nice Sunday chill and all that. Looks like an amazing day out there. I was going to go and do some shit in town, but my knee's fucked basically, and yes, come on, Eindhoven. And walking isn't that comfortable. Anywho, get my ducks in a line, and I'll be fine. And then we'll have a wee look. Now, in case the Deep State Illuminati pull the plug on RT, we'll do RT first and then go and have a look at the BBC, I think. So I just stopped it there at the top of the hour.
Rocket propelled grenade. Yeah.
This isn't behaving itself, but I think it's. Did get it stopped.
Forces took control of the Ukrainian military base.
Here they everywhere. We have also been told.
I really don't know.
That
Keep mucking this up for some reason.
Were abandoned by their own
Spy zone.
Right.
Shook off.
Allegedly being violent from southeastern Ukraine.
I think I know what's happening that's confusing me so much. I've got hotkeys for cameras, and I think those hotkeys do things on YouTube as well. That makes sense.
After yesterday's failed evacuation from southeastern Ukraine, many were left devastated, blaming Ukrainian forces. Only 300 civilians managed to leave today, with the ceasefire allegedly being violated.
All over the place. Our personal documents, IDs of Ukrainian troops, military uniforms. Apparently the soldiers here shook off these, left them here, and put on civilian clothing before mingling with civilians.
In a chaotic retreat from their bases, Ukrainian servicemen leave vast amounts of equipment behind as they flee Russia's offensive.
I love war nowadays, man. It's
Vladimir Putin says Russia's offensive in Ukraine will end as soon as Kiev is ready to stop fighting.
To within an inch of
the
its
Ukrainian president asks NATO countries to impose a no-fly zone and provide combat aircraft, something the West isn't prepared to do.
Yeah, hello, yeah. I used to be an actor. Now I'm standing up on TV begging the West to give me a fucking Air Force. I've got nobody to fucking fly them, but he's the manual, he's the book. Like Dimitri, he's brilliant at reading English. And we'll give him the manual and then he'll just tell every other Dimitri.
And Russian-speaking Germans protest in Berlin against an increase in discrimination since the situation began in Ukraine. We spoke to one medical clinic.
Russians getting discriminated against? No way. Kick them out. Sell your football club. fucking boycott McDonald's. Oh my god. It's like you've got this semi-organic bullshit on the internet, and all your hoity-toity old-fashioned governments who don't understand it at all standing over there, and then they have a war to sell and they go, I know, let's do this bucket fucking challenge for need of Ukraine, let's cancel Russia. It's ridiculous, man.
Owner who received an email from a Munich clinic saying it would no longer treat Russian-speaking patients.
Wow. And remember, boycott McDonald's, because they're still selling Big Macs in Moscow. How dare they?
You're watching RT International. My name's Peter Scott, and wherever you're joining us from, welcome to 30 minutes of news and analysis.
Good British name. Good Scottish name.
With the conflict in Ukraine entering its 11th day, let's take a quick look at some of the latest developments. NATO weaponry and ammunition have fallen into Russian hands after being abandoned by retreat.
Well, this is you basically showing the spoils of war for one side. Granted, the other side is saying that these spoils of war don't exist, so you want to show them to show that they do exist, but by the process of doing that, you've just become one-sided and completely biased, while still wearing the cape of independent journalism somehow.
Retreating Ukrainian troops. Canada has refused to send fighter jets to Ukraine, citing the lack of training by local pilots to fly them. That's as Kiev.
We can send you the planes. You've just got naked to fucking fly them. How many years of training does it take to become a fighter pilot? I'm pretty sure it's more than a couple of weeks.
Kiev demands more military supplies from Washington and more sanctions against Moscow. And speaking of which, Visa and MasterCard have suspended their operations in Russia in the latest to pull out of Western companies.
Right. I have the details of this, and they are virtue signalling like the rest of every country, right? But the devil's in the detail, and I'm going to screw the detail up here, right? But I'm going to use the baton to maybe go and check this out for yourself before you misspeak. They are cancelling like international fucking things between Russian companies and other companies for other countries. But see, internally, games what everything's fucking as is. This only affects external transactions, if that makes any sense. Things internationally. Everything internally is still going to get run in the exact same fashion with the exact same mechanisms by the exact same people. Which means the exact same folk are in charge of the currency. You know, you get a currency in an electrical circuit. You also get a currency when it comes to currency. Because the only fucking... It's only currency, it's only worth it if it's flowing. It's sitting there stagnant, gathering dust. It's just a bit of paper with ink on it.
Also, a serious stalemate is occurring in several...
Alrighty, Marty. Because I'm a technical whiz kid. I'm an anonymous hacker. No, I mean, just get a free VPN on my browser. This is my Chrome. I find the Chrome one works a bit best. Here it's up here. What's it called? I don't know, mate. I just went into the Chrome add-ons. In fact, I googled free VPN for Chrome. That popped up. First one, Bob your uncle. Back into that. And changed my location to Russia. Which didn't work for a while, funnily enough. And I had to use Singapore, which was a lot slower. But now, at the moment, I'm using Russia, which is working. So, in the morning, Martin, hopefully you had a good weekend, mate. Celtic are 3-1, yes! Boo! But yeah, see, this is my logic. You put money on Celtic to win, and then it's a win-win. If you get me, if they lose, you win, and if they win, you win. It's a win-win. That's how you turn us. That's how you turn hating Celtic to your advantage. But anywho, let's have a wee look.
Besieged cities. Kiev accuses Russia of indiscriminate shelling, but Moscow claims Ukrainian far-right forces are using civilians as human shields and not allowing.
My daddy says it, your daddy says it, his daddy is smaller than your daddy, my daddy will beat your daddy up. Daddy! He hit me! No, he hit me first, Daddy! Daddy, he hit me first, Daddy! Daddy! That's what I'm hearing here for both sides, man. Basically, both of them trying to blame each other for the same event. And it's unfucking believable. It's pathetic. I mean, if it wasn't, you would, I don't know, I'm pretty much down in the floor laughing, right? But most people would be down in the floor laughing if it wasn't for the hundreds, if not thousands, of people dying.
Them to leave through humanitarian corridors. And talking of which, humanitarian corridors in Ukraine have again been opened today. That's according to Donbass officials. This video allegedly shows buses heading from the western city of Zaporozhye to Mariupol to take part in the evacuation. Donetsk authorities claim around 300 people were evacuated, and that's before both sides blamed each other for a violation of the ceasefire. Yesterday's safe exit routes were closed for the same reason, leaving those who hope to flee devastated.
Я их просила на коленях с племянником с подвала. Спасите нас. У меня 2 ребенка 10 дней в подвале. И почему наши власти, которым...
Wow, did you see that? They just opened her up and another one came out.
Пожалуйста, стреляйте. Я понимаю, это война.
Who's Russian dolls or what is that?
Выехать отсюда. Они своих родственников вывезли, а мы остались. У нас нет интернета. Откуда мы знаем, есть коридор или нет? Они же могли как-то договориться с родителями. Люди, выходите, у вас там 2 часа...
What a sexy language, eh?
Meanwhile, in other
She
parts
could
of Ukraine,
easily cure a
fighting is
hangover.
ongoing. According to the Russian Defense Ministry, Lugansk forces continue offensive
Whispering
actions,
sweet nothings
while
in
the
your ear
troops
in the
of
morning.
Donetsk Republic have established control over a few settlements on the border previously under Kiev's control. Moscow has also stated that Russian armed forces continue to strike at the objects of the military infrastructure of Ukraine. Now let's take a look then at a Ukrainian military base in the Kherson region, which Russian forces have taken control of. Abandoned tanks, cars, armoured personnel carriages and equipment which servicemen left behind while retreating can all be seen. Our senior correspondent Murad Gazdiev is there.
We're now at a Ukrainian military base in the province of Kherson. This base was...
As you can tell, there's a shortage of toilet tissue and Kleenex. Kleenex is a brand, isn't it? I'm afflicted. This guy clearly, through all his combat training and his ninja-like skills, doesn't know how to blow his nose.
We haven't been told, but again, these are tanks all in working order. Over there, there's an arsenal, some small arms, rocket-propelled grenades, vast quantities of ammunition also left behind. You can see armoured personnel carriers as
the
well
Western
as
press put a wee bit more effort in on a Sunday, you know. See, a Sunday's a weird day in press land, you know. You get the Andrew Marr show, you get all the politicians coming out and kind of setting the agenda for the week coming. RTs just sit there and kind of regurgitate the week's shit. You know, because everybody else is fucking having the weekend. Everybody worth it.
And this is
all the proper editors
Ukrainian military
all that are having a proper weekend.
That was abandoned by the troops. Here, from what we've been told, there were 3,000 to 4,000 Ukrainian servicemen.
I'm just advising this RT
were left by the time the
reporter
Russian
to blow his
military
nose.
arrived. As you can tell, they left in a tremendous hurry.
I'm going to watch RT and then I'm going to watch BBC
personal documents, IDs,
and see
of Ukrainian troops.
See what it
Also,
is, yeah?
military
That wasn't
uniforms
staged. Look at this.
are personal.
Like, and I know they're not saying it isn't staged, you know, but it's like they're like, I'm just walking down this captured. Oh look, there's Ukrainian, there's things on the floor. Mate, I would only be more surprised if it was a passport for 9/11. Oh, look what's on the floor here. Oh, it's a passport from the hijacker from 9/11.
Documents, IDs of Ukrainian troops. Also,
Inside leg measurements. Oh, look what it says here on this bit of paper. I love RT. RT is for me. And I especially love the reporter who clearly needs to blow his nose.
military uniforms. Apparently, the soldiers here shook off these, left them here, and put on civilian clothing before mingling.
Uh-oh. Are we gonna see a wee bit of a guerrilla warfare? Is this RT telling you shit's gonna start blowing up? Shit's gonna start blowing up in the middle of civilian cities as they start taking out the infrastructure, the political infrastructure, the people that are fucking at the arsehole of the West. That's what I'm hearing, but I don't know, man. I see dead people.
Mingling with civilians in the city or in various villages nearby. This, as I say, a scene.
Dead people! Fucking hell, man, this guy does see dead people!
Of absolute chaos.
Hey, look, if the new RT was coming, they would have got their maw around. Get a wee fucking Fabrice. No, but it was the old-fashioned Fabrice. The shaking vac. You do the shaking vac and put freshness back. You do the shaking back and take the puke smell out.
Personal items are everywhere. We have also been told that the troops here were abandoned by their own leadership, that they weren't made aware that Russia...
We were also told, remember I'm an independent journalist, we were also told Vladimir Putin is 12 foot tall!
Russian forces were advancing, and they only learned this from news reports and
they only learned this from RT.
From conversations with locals. Again, this place is absolutely vast. These tents, rows and rows of tents, stretch for hundreds of meters. Here's also a huge ammunition dump of the Ukrainian military. There
Afternoon,
are crates
Devon.
packed with
Afternoon,
various
age of.
ammunition,
Davo, how you
explosives
doing, my
all
man?
over the place. 122 millimeter mines, mortar.
I know,
rounds,
Davo, it's so funny,
a
man.
tank shell.
It really
along
is
with-
like siblings
with the
arguing
judge,
and like
for
the big
example.
brother
And this
grabbing the hand, slapping them in the
protected
fucking
depot
face, going, stop fucking hitting your fucking
even
self!
more
That is pathetic.
explosives. For example, guided missile canisters, rows and rows of them, as well as here you have the explosive heads, the detonators. For
Man,
mines.
can you still get shaken back?
Over
No
in
way,
these
man.
crates.
That was the OG of
80,
Fabrice, wasn't it?
millimeter mortar rounds, and again, this stretches into the distance. Crates and crates of various bullets.
That's what she said, Devon. Boom, 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 boom.
At least the ammunition dumps that they are mined, that there are booby traps and explosives. The supply
Get out of there, then, man. Where's your Indiana Jones fucking hat and a wee fucking pouch of fucking sand to make the switch?
Close the sky above
switcheroo.
Ukraine. However, NATO countries seem not to be too keen on that idea, as they fear it could elevate the conflict to a nuclear level.
Uh-oh. Yeah, bring on the Nazis!
After years of stalemate and suffering, the Donbas republics requested Russia's help in putting an end to what they perceived as Ukrainian military aggression. Russia sees their military operation as a defense of these people. Of course, the Western narrative is one of aggression, despite their own military interventions in Iraq, Syria, Afghanistan, and Serbia, to name just a few.
As US...
I love the way Russia aren't even going, right, what we're doing is humanitarian and like that. Hey, what we're doing is the exact same shit you've done in Iraq and all that. What, go in there and blow up fucking rubblers!
US outlets cover Russia's attack on Ukraine. Remember how these same outlets cover US attacks. When the US...
Oh, man. I love the way Russia's excuse is, hey, two wrongs make a right, motherfucker. It's brilliant. It's like they've just went balls out there like that, right? So fucked, right? See all these... See, I think, what is it they call it? Artillery? And it's just... It's those trucks you see with the big... It just basically looks like big tubes. Because I think that's more or less what the fuck they are. Big tubes on the back. You see them... That's no guided missiles. That's some cunt going with a bit of paper and a protractor and a target going, right, we should maybe put it about that angle. Russia no giving a fuck. As I'm saying, they've got the pre-packaged excuse to go at Iraq, Libya, Syria. The West are fucked. The West are like, quick ban RT, quick ban RT, nuclear. The Western press it's hilarious, and you can tell as well. All the bitches have been called to heel. That interview with Lavrov was fucking amazing, man. When you seen like the NBC, Fox News, BBC, Western after Western, and Lavrov's just ripping them a fucking new one. I can see you reading there for a bit of paper, and you could see the guy like that reading verbatim. It was fucking hilarious. Oh man, this is beautiful to watch, man. This is like, do you know what this is? This is like the director's cut and the making of Wag the Dog. This is like standing in on the floor. You know, like beforehand, you would like watch Wag the Dog and then maybe watch the making of Wag the Dog. But now you're actually standing on the production fucking floor, watching all the directors and all that bounce around like, cut! We need to do that again! Do that again! Give me more tears! Quick! We need more! Where's the fucking more heads blown off? More blood, gore, and fucking smudged bits! Quick, get that little part for the fucking... for the lens! Oh, man. I know it's bad to get excited about war, but what the fuck can I do to stop it, man? Any cunt's going to listen to me. So we may as well just enjoy the Wag the Dog production, man. And if anybody hasn't watched that film, now is the time to go and watch it. While reading The Prince.
US bombed Syria in 2017. MSNBC's Brian Williams called the footage of the strike beautiful. He then quoted Leonard Cohen, "I am guided by the beauty of our weapons."
Oh, wow.
CNN's Fareed Zakaria was similarly enthusiastic about Trump's attack on Syria. "I think Donald Trump became president of the United States last night. He talked about international norms, international rules, about America's role in enforcing justice in the world."
All of us, including the Iraqi people, are going to be very fortunate.
I think it was the smartest thing George Bush did.
Why would we intervene in Libya? Because it'd be the right thing to do. Because people are dying for altruistic reasons.
This is, as I say, a consequence of a consistent
We're only doing what America and the West done.
Violations of international law by us, by the United States, and by NATO. I think that it would have been super easy for the Western powers to accept that the best solution would be to have a declaration of neutrality for Ukraine, and then Ukraine could have the best relations, commercial and otherwise, with the West and with the East. But we have here a problem of an information war in which the level
An information
of lying,
war?
the level of fake news and fake history and fake law has reached such points that people cannot talk to each other.
Among the sanctions imposed on Russia are those affecting the automotive industry, with many companies subsequently forced to halt imports and production. BMW, Volkswagen and Mercedes are among those who have announced production cuts due to a lack of parts and materials. There are also worries that global electric vehicle production will be affected as large amounts of nickel used to make batteries comes from Russia. And the European job sector is also vulnerable, with an estimated 250,000 German jobs alone depending on Russian car parts exports.
Does
Well,
the
for more
New
on
Silk
this, we
Road
can
no
go
go
live
through
now
Russia?
to Richard Werner,
I'm
Professor
pretty
of
sure.
Banking and Finance at De Montfort University. Welcome to the programme.
Thank you for having me.
Now, the car manufacturing sector is clearly a huge employer and a big moneymaker in Europe. What impact do you think these sanctions are having back in the EU, the ones that have been imposed on Russia?
Yes, well, the impact is significant. It is very, very large. Germany, of course, Europe's largest economy, is
British
actually
accent I hear.
particularly badly affected, as it is now hitting very directly the automobile industry. Before we already have seen the development of the emerging energy crisis, and that even that, of course, is also still going to get much worse. And you need energy to run your industry. Germany has been relying on Russia, and it should have adopted a more consistent policy and not shut Russia out when it's quite clear that it needs this energy. But now the automobile industry is coming to a standstill. In the coming week, we will see major manufacturers, Volkswagen, BMW, stopping production in BMW in their key factories in Munich, in Dingolfing, in Leipzig and Steyr in
I swear
Austria
that's
as
an
well.
English accent.
And more to come, as it looks. Because,
Maybe wrong. I may be
these
right.
manufacturers, also
Who
Volkswagen,
knows?
have been relying on some key components from factories in the Ukraine, and somehow they hadn't put one and one together. You know, if you're doing that and you're also relying on Russian energy, well, why don't you insist on a more balanced European policy towards Russia and Ukraine that doesn't aim at causing conflict? And so the conflict is now here. And supply lines are being cut. This is going to have a dramatic impact.
Apologies for interrupting. With these severing of supply lines, what impact do you think that will have on already inflated car prices?
Exactly. I mean, we will see further rises in car prices. We're seeing the energy prices going ballistic, and actually the other area that's also going to be very painful and even scarier, if you want, is the food supplies, because also grain exports are being halted. There's now some Eastern European countries saying, okay, we're going to stop exporting because it looks like we're going to have a food shortage. Ukraine and also Russia produce a lot of grain, and that could really cause an even bigger crisis. So we have industry affected, corporate profits, and that's just the start. There are likely to be layoffs, unemployment. Germany avoided a recession in the 2008 so-called global financial crisis entirely, and there was no unemployment increase. So it's going to be a big, big shock now. And the question is, why is Europe really insisting on this pain and on these supply restrictions?
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess time will tell just how deeply those sanctions will cut into both economies. Richard Werner, Professor of Banking and Finance at De Montfort University, thank you very much for your input today.
Thank you.
Meanwhile, Moscow motorists decided to show their support for Russian troops in Ukraine. Drivers at a pre-organized rally decorated their cars with the letters Z and V, insignia Russian soldiers use on their armored vehicles. The letters, meaning victory and support, have become everyday symbols of Russia's ongoing military operation. Similar campaigns are taking place across the country.
Where did I hear somewhere? Must have been on RT.
Just before we go, a word on how you can watch RT at the moment around the world, because there's been a few questions about that. All the ways you can find us are laid out at
I had one earlier on too, mate.
Where to watch, including how to tune your satellite receiver to reach our signal. We're available in Europe, Africa, Latin America, and elsewhere across the globe that way. Do head over to our website for the full list and lowdown. Well, that's a wrap for this hour. My name's Peter Scott, and I'll be back again with more news and, of course, any developments in the ongoing Ukraine conflict at the top of the hour.
See you later, Pedro. And any latecomers and anybody that wants to know, just a simple VPN. That was my first protocol to try and get back in the old Russia today. It's one that's built into Chrome. This is free. Well, you can pay for the full boona, you can get the free version, you get limited access, but the free stuff allows you to go to Singapore and Russia are the ones that I've been using. I think America works as well, somebody told me. I don't think it's blocked in America. Do you know the thing that really pisses me off? And I know this is, it's always the small wee fucking weirdest things that really pisses me off. The fact that Fat Bobo Johnson and his fucking cohorts are sitting in their fucking fat cat fucking office and they'll be able to switch that on like that. You know what I'm talking about? It's the two-tier thing. See if they fucking took a missile and rattled their satellite or their antenna or something and took it out that way and no cunt was having it. I'd be like, right, fair dues. But they've no. They've just digitally blocked it for fucking the great unwashed, man. Which really pisses me off. Anyway, let's get to the BPCs now. Let's see what they're saying here. Remember, same thing. Same. I think they're going to report on that Ukrainian army base being preoccupied. Hello!
This is BBC News. Welcome if you're watching here in the UK or around the globe. I'm Nancy Kachingira. Our top stories. Civilians have been fleeing for their lives under the relentless bombardment just 25 kilometers from the capital.
Hey, Dmitry! What do you want to do this morning? I don't know, let's phone Putin. Hello, Putin, what should we do this morning? Okay, we go and we start shooting innocent civilians, okay. Do it in front of BBC cameras. Okay. Hold on, let me take my vodka. Yeah, great idea, Putin! Mr. Putler. I'll go and start shooting at civilians right away, Mr. Putler. I mean, is it just me or do you feel like there's a big fucking... I can smell fucking dog's breath, man. It's pathetic. Putler's indiscriminate, like I see... Oh, God. I can't even escape it with Top Sport. The wee fucking news things that come on and it's like, Russia's continued their indiscriminate bombing and shelling. You're like, oh, God almighty, man, it's like, they really do dress it up like the West drop love bombs and bullets, don't they?
Severe attacks on the civil population, including carpet bombarding of the cities, which are basically happening these days already in some cities, will be taking place in southern and south.
I always believe somebody when they say basically. Yes, literally, there's cows coming out the sky. And basically, they're carpet bombing the city. Okay, hen.
Of new civilian victims will be in Ukraine.
The besieged city of Mariupol will attempt another evacuation of civilians after a similar plan was abandoned yesterday due to continued fighting. The UN says 1.5 million people have already fled Ukraine. The US offers to help ease the fastest growing refugee crisis since the Second World War.
We're bringing our own technical expertise to bear, including here in the Republic of Moldova. We'll also be bringing resources to bear to help alleviate some of the burden that Moldova and other countries are carrying.
And anti-war protests on the streets of Russia. More than 1,000 people have been detained in 29 cities across the country, according to one monitoring group.
You're joking, Martin. Is Telegram banned RT as well? That's fucked up. I thought Telegram was ran by Russia. I thought that was their
Hello and welcome. The Ukrainian
Facebook
authorities
Messenger.
say towns northwest of the capital, Kiev, are under relentless bombardment with
Kiev!
intense fighting between
Did you
government
see it right there?
and Russian forces.
Well done,
The
hey?
heaviest fighting is said to be focused on suburbs just 25 kilometres northwest of Kiev.
Which right
Meanwhile,
Dawson
a new
saying to you,
temporary
Evan?
ceasefire to evacuate thousands of civilians
See you
in the
later,
besieged
devil.
southern city of
Bye-bye.
Mariupol appears
Nice
to
day
have
in the sun.
collapsed after just hours. This is the second day in a row that it has failed. Our correspondent Charlotte Gallagher in Ukraine has the latest.
A Russian strike on Irpin. Violence, destruction, panic. This city, close to the capital, is enduring heavy fighting.
See what happens, see when the West invade like Afghanistan or Iraq or anything, what they do is they send in Mary Poppins. Right, so Mary Poppins bounces in there like singing a couple of wee fucking hymns, a couple of wee show tunes. Can't remember fucking a spoonful of medicine helps the bombs go down in the most delightful way. And they all walk in just skipping and like, woo, yeah! And what they do is they bring out their wee baskets and they start throwing their rose petals of peace and love and happiness and Mary Poppiness. That's what happens when Britain and America and all their other fucking 10 million fucking get along gang members bounce into I don't know, deserts and start killing the fucking brown people in the sand, you know? In the most delightful way. Whereas when Russia do is like, death, destruction! It's absolute fucking shameless. It's pathetic. It is see-through. It's so easily to see through as well. It's like Russia killing some cunt is the same as you killing some cunt. So forgive me for no bowing down to your implied fear and sympathy for these people as opposed to those people, because of the people that are actually dropping the love bombs, where the bombs and bullets are manufactured actually.
With more and more people attempting to escape. Many are heading to Lviv, a city close to the Polish border. The train station here is overwhelmed by the crowds. These children from an orphanage are some of the latest to leave.
So Devin, what was
For one of their
saying?
carers, it's just too much. My heart is being
RVX,
torn
what's
apart, she
that?
says. It's so tough. A few miles from the train station, weapons are being handed out, not to soldiers and police, but ordinary citizens who want to defend their city, families and Ukraine. It's a scene repeated across the country.
We have already gained our
He
future,
well looks better
but
than
we
a
are
tank
still
top,
fighting
doesn't
for
he?
our present. It is very
I need to
important.
get that picture.
We are still fighting for where the border will be, between life and slavery. This is the time when it is still possible to defeat
PM
evil
or
without irreparable losses.
King Kong.
The abandoned streets of Mariupol, a city under siege, encircled by Russian troops, around 200,000 people have been running out of food, water and power, living in darkness in cellars. Yesterday, the hope of escape was dashed after Russian shelling broke a ceasefire agreed to allow people to leave, though Moscow blamed Ukraine. Today, there will be another attempt to evacuate civilians. The city's mayor says they are under constant threat.
In the first days of the war, we counted the victims in tens. Today, we count them in hundreds. Soon, we'll count them in thousands. They won't even give us a chance to count the wounded and the dead, because the shelling has not stopped for 6 days.
This is what people here fear, strikes from the sky. Despite Moscow's promises, the Russian Air Force have hit houses, schools and hospitals, not only military targets. Putin's prize target is the capital, Kyiv, though, the scars of war already visible. On the outskirts, troops and volunteers are in position and defences are being rapidly erected.
I'm pretty sure Putin's more of a fan of a chicken Kiev than a chicken Kyiv.
Like these anti-tank hedgehogs.
See, I think they've got something. I think Russia's taken over the world, man. They even own a chicken recipe.
Resistance remains defiant. Charlotte Gallagher, BBC News, Lviv.
Now, in the last half hour, we've been hearing from the President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, as he talks about some of the destruction caused by Russian troops in Ukraine. Let's listen in to some of what he had to say.
I've just been told about the rocket strike at Vinnytsia. 8 rockets.
See if anybody can find a picture of him in his sparkly red top. Like, I call it a tank top, but it's basically like a top with no sleeves, if you know what I mean. Tank top, innit? You know, he's wearing military fatigues in time of war. No, like Wag the Dog, man, and you've literally got like a fucking actor. See when you heard when Victoria Nuland, the Russians intercepted her phone call between Victoria Nuland and the American ambassador of Ukraine, and they were talking about who they were going to insert into the administration, and they were like just juggling names. We should have Klitsch, we should have Fang, Zimpo, Vinto, Ranto, Stanto. And he ended up with him, Petrodollar Poroshenko.
Is Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky.
So Vladimir Putin just manifested himself. Killed
cities by Russian troops. Now, some of the other lines that we're just getting in now, we've heard that a plan to evacuate civilians from the besieged southern city of Mariupol appears to have collapsed. Ukrainian and Russian forces blaming each other for failing to observe a ceasefire that would allow local people to escape. And you might remember that a similar agreement fell apart on Saturday. So that's the latest news coming in from the southeastern port city of Mariupol, that for a second day the attempt there to evacuate trapped civilians have fallen apart.
Can anybody find the picture
now,
of him?
Boris Johnson is urging world leaders to match words with deeds on Ukraine as he prepares to host talks with the Canadian and Dutch Prime Ministers in Downing Street tomorrow. Meanwhile, the Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer has called for a parliamentary committee to investigate claims that Boris Johnson personally intervened in the process of granting a peerage to the Russian newspaper owner, Lord Lebedev, after British intelligence warned that it would pose a risk to national security. The government said the rules had been applied rigorously. Here's our political correspondent, Helen Catt.
Are you joking, Devin? Did he really play the piano with his dick? Oh, man, I'm going to have to get these videos and all that, man. This isn't Wag the Dog. This is Play the Piano with Your Dick. Even better than Wag the Dog, man. It's like Wag the Dog meets 3D chess, aka Play the Piano with Your Dick. I mean, it's obvious.
But 6 months is still more than enough time.
Right, now, we are staying in a parallel universe when the leader of the Labour Party is a fucking more posh than the cunt that's in charge of the Conservatives. And he's a fucking lord. I kept saying he was a lord and I misspoke. He's a sir. And he got his sirship through his stewardship of all the fucking paedophilia investigations, including that of Jimmy Savile. Woo woo! Wow. Honestly, no wonder Batman's fucking great-grandfather was one of the founding members of the Skull and Bones. Do you know, I remember I've put that in one of my shows before, and it gets struck copyright and Shate's life, and it did again this time round. I find that fascinating. It was in an episode of Batman. Batman's grandfather was one of the founding members of Skull and Bones, aka the Russell Trust, which made their money and what? Opium! Back in the day. That's where they got their dough for. Put into a trust, aka the Russell Trust, which is the Skull and Bones Foundation. Ooh. I just find stuff like that fascinating. Anyway, let's listen to this tough bastard.
To sell property here in the United Kingdom. So tomorrow we want to push them further to say reduce that down to 28 days, make it a really effective sanction so that we can put maximum pressure on Russia.
Boris Johnson will host the Prime Ministers of Canada and the Netherlands in Downing Street tomorrow to discuss further international action to support Ukraine and isolate Russia. But this morning there are questions about his role in the admittance of a Russian-born newspaper owner to the House of Lords. The Sunday Times claims that in 2020, British intelligence assessed that giving a peerage to Yevgeny Lebedev posed a national security risk. The paper says that assessment was withdrawn after Mr Johnson personally intervened. Sir Keir Starmer has called for a parliamentary committee to investigate. But the Deputy Prime Minister said there was no evidence to do so.
There is a very strict and stringent process when anyone is granted a peerage. I don't know the facts of the case, I wasn't involved in it, but I do know that it was applied very rigorously in this case.
Downing Street said all individuals nominated for a peerage were done so in recognition of their contribution to society, and all peerages were vetted by the House of Lords Appointments Commission. Earlier this week, Lord Lebedev added his voice to the condemnation of the attack on Ukraine. In his paper, The Evening Standard, he issued a personal appeal to Vladimir Putin to stop the war. Helen Catt, BBC News.
Let's go back now to the situation inside Ukraine. I'm joined by our chief international correspondent, Lise Doucette, who's live from Kiev.
Right.
Good to see you,
Do you want to know what a spook? Do you want to know what a spook sounds like? Right now, listen to this accent. It's the most bastardised accent you'll ever hear, and you'll hear it very commonly in reporters of war and reporters from positions that you could argue they're probably spooks, like her, for example. And there's many out there that sound almost exactly like her, and this accent comes from nowhere, because they are sons and daughters of spooks that have just been dotted around the whole world when they've been grown up, and thus
continue to close in on the capital. What's the latest from there?
The latest is that there's been a barrage of shelling just less than 15 miles northwest of Kyiv in what was a humanitarian corridor to allow people to flee from the besieged town of Irpin. We saw heartrending scenes there yesterday of people
She sounds like a fucking... Do you know who she sounds like? Right, the only accent I can relate to it is those fucking fish superheroes that come from under the sea. And, like, if I wasn't worried about fucking spitting water everywhere, I would do the accent with some water in my mouth. But she sounds like she's underwater.
People just fleeing in droves, elderly women holding their shopping bags, people with dogs in their arms, carrying their children, people in tears as they watch their houses in flames from Russia.
Quick, get back under the water! You're going to fucking... The opposite of drown when fish... You're like a fish out of water! What's the opposite of drowning? When you die. But obviously you need to be a fish. You know, I was a fish in a previous life, obviously. So, obviously, so was she.
Russian shelling, their lives being shattered. And now today, shelling of that area by Russian forces. The eyewitness accounts from that area, including a BBC team who was there at the time.
Oh, sorry, when she's talking about fucking warfare and all that.
A makeshift bridge, which was allowing people to leave from Irpin to go to the train station, head towards here, and then to a safer place.
Arsenal women won.
Has been broken. Yesterday there was a photograph of people sheltering under that bridge. Thousands of people taking shelter, and
Arsenal,
now
Ajax,
that has
Man
been
City,
blasted away.
Juventus, and Gate.
We're also hearing reports from Mariupol to the south. Today was to be the second attempt to try to allow people to flee from that besieged city, where residential areas have been under attack. People have been running out of food,
caved in
water,
trying to do
there's no
fish women.
electricity. Again, they came under Russian shelling. So we've heard from local officials that yet again people have gone back to a besieged city, wondering, fearing, when will they ever see that promise made good, that there will be a corridor without being attacked by Russian forces.
Oh, the BBC's reporting on looting and cities in absolute chaos. Why would that happen when you flood that fucking place full of fucking weapons? Hey, every Tom, Dick and Dimitri, come and get your fucking AK-47.
They can somehow make it to safety.
Now, as you have pointed out, Lise, this is a very difficult situation for people who are stuck in the middle of this conflict. It's too safe to stay where they are. It's too unsafe to stay where they are. It's too dangerous to leave. What options do they have left?
And in some places, there's no place to hide. If you're in Irpin, you can't stay. Your house has been burnt down to a crisp. Your houses have been shelled for the past few days. You fear for yourself. You fear for your family. So you try to leave. But even the escape routes are being blocked today. In a place like Kyiv, where
Kyiv. That's what fish, uber villain fish women call it. Kyiv.
Where we are now, where the streets remain eerily quiet, at least in the center of the city. More and more defensive barriers are being put up across the city. We drove through yesterday to see the sandbag positions, the spiked barriers, all in preparation for a possible advance of that long armored convoy stretching some 40 miles on the outskirts of this city. If and when it does indeed enter this capital, they're preparing to try to fight back.
All we need now is
an
air raid siren to go off.
What we have seen in one city after another over the past 11 days in the Russian invasion of Ukraine.
Oh, I think you best go for cover. It sounds like it's getting hairy there on the ground. You stay safe, citizen.
And Vladimir Putin. President Macron of France is also set to meet with President Putin to try and find a resolution to this. But just how much hope is there of a ceasefire if, as we are seeing, even the establishment of a humanitarian corridor is proving difficult?
Nuclear.
So much talking, no impact on the ground. President Putin keeps saying that Russia and Ukraine are one, that this is a country which doesn't have the right to exist. The only thing, as you say, which has come out of the negotiations, and it was seen as a really important development, the agreement a few nights ago to establish these humanitarian corridors, even that has been shattered by the shelling on the ground, and yet everyone is trying. Turkey offered to mediate. Hungary, which is a very close ally, Viktor Orban, the prime minister there, a very close ally of President Putin, he's offered to mediate. Saudi Arabia's offered to mediate, and world leaders, France's President
Well, you know
Macron,
things are
German
foobar when
Chancellor,
Saudi
they've been
Arabia
on
is
the
offering to
telephone
mediate.
with President
Okay,
Our
we
viewers
tell
may
you who
remember
said to
the
chop
last
off
telephone call
first.
between
Okay,
President,
first
Putin and
you
President
get your
Macron.
little
President Macron
boys
came out
to
and said
dance like
that after an
girls
hour
in
and a half
front
speaking
of
to him, his conclusion was,
But
it's
I'm
going to get worse.
completely
And so it
straight,
has.
obviously.
And how is that affecting the mood in Kiev at the moment?
Kiev?
There is this mood of defiance, but also of dread. Because the armoured convoy, which was
Get
first
out of
sighted
Dodge, man.
about a week ago, has not moved into the city, it has meant that people don't scramble so in a panic every time they hear the air raid sirens. They're daring to hope that perhaps the plight of this city, the city will be saved, or at least the attacks on this, the heart of the city will be delayed, although people seem to be in no doubt it may happen at some point. But the pressure has been eased somewhat. But we saw in the early days of the invasion, the streets gridlocked with people trying to flee. Yesterday we drove along that road heading west. There weren't the kind of traffic jams that we'd seen early on, but we did actually see a traffic jam of people trying to get in. So those who have to flee, who feel they must flee, have fled long ago, or they're making preparations. Others are bedding in down below ground, and others are digging in above ground. The thousands and thousands of civilians, from bookkeepers to accountants to lawyers to doctors.
Remember, this is a fish woman, so she's not really that familiar with
of Ukrainians across this country who lived such different lives have now become soldiers, civilians prepared to fight for their future and for their country's future.
All right, we'll leave it there for now. Lise Doucette, thank you very much for that update from the capital of Ukraine.
Don't get yourself wet.
Well, as
I've
Lise
seen
mentioned,
Flipper,
more than
and I know
1.5 million
keep
people have
wet.
now been forced to flee their homes by Russia's war on Ukraine, with most of them going to neighbouring Poland. There are 5 countries on Ukraine's western and southern borders, and all of them are witnessing things that the region hasn't seen since the Second World War. From Slovakia, Rob Cameron has this report.
10,000 people a day crossing into Slovakia from Ukraine. 10,000 journeys, 10,000 stories, each similar, each unique, each terrifying in their own way. Svetlana is an English teacher from the town of Korosten, who fled with her 7-year-old son Ilya and their cat.
Staying without your house, without your clothes, because we went out just with nothing. Like, we were hoping that we can come back at least someday, but I don't know, as far as watching those news, I'm losing my hope, actually.
For now, she's heading to the Polish city of Wrocław to stay with friends. Central and Eastern Europe is home to a huge Ukrainian diaspora. In homes across the region this evening, people will be making up spare beds for their kin. And those who have no one in Warsaw, Bratislava or Prague will be put up by an army of willing volunteers.
But not all of these people fleeing the conflict are Ukrainians. Russia's war has scattered thousands of migrant workers and students. Most of them are trying to get home as quickly as possible, but not everyone.
Foreigners from all over the world were studying in Ukraine when the war started. Some just months away from completing their degrees.
It's 6 years already. I've been doing my thing. I've been studying late nights for exams. I had plans in my life, like I'll do this, I'll write my exam, I'll go to another country. I'll become something in my life. But now it's like, I don't know what to do, really.
Degrees can be finished, of course, but lives lost can't be relived. The Red Army once liberated this part of Europe, and Slovaks haven't forgotten. But now their neighbours are fleeing Russian tanks, not welcoming them. And countries like Slovakia are the ones providing the shelter. Rob Cameron, BBC News, on the Slovak-Ukrainian border.
Let's bring you some live pictures now. These are pictures of Ukrainian orphans being welcomed by the Israeli Prime Minister as they arrive there seeking refuge. As we have mentioned, there are now more than 1.5 million people who have been forced to flee Ukraine. These are just some of the people who have been able to get out. These are Ukrainian orphans being received by the Israeli Prime Minister. Some live pictures for you there. And let's continue to talk about that refugee situation, because many millions of people, more than 1.5 million, have now been forced to flee their homes by Russia's war in Ukraine, with most of them going to neighbouring Poland.
Good stuff, the old Arsenal.
We can now speak to Baba Baloch. He is global spokesperson for UNHCR,
Easy
the
for
UN
you to say.
Refugee Agency. Joining me now from Geneva. Thank you very much for talking to us. How much help are you able to provide, seeing the scale of this situation?
Thank you. Indeed, I mean, it's very clear that the devastation of this war is affecting so many people. 1.5 million is not just a figure. These are all people that had to seek safety in Ukraine's neighboring countries. And let's not forget, this has happened just in a matter of 10 days. UNHCR, the UN Refugee Agency, we are working closely with authorities in Ukraine's neighboring countries.
Well, you know, the one thing Europe would really need right now was 1.5 million refugees.
Of the compassion and support that we have seen on the ground. So we need to see more solidarity to help. And the fear is...
Well, Devin, one way to look at it, mate, is the price of hookers is going to go down.
Conflict, there will be more people who...
And I know that as funny as that sounds, it's an economic reality that's going to happen.
What's your assessment of the capacity that is available
because,
to care for them?
75 to 80% of your sex workers,
the countries have
my mate Dangerous Dave told me, are East European.
Helping in that effort. There is capacity, but more is needed. When you have 100,000 people.
It wasn't me, Your Honour. It wasn't me.
Of conflict, there need to be more that is need to be put in over there. The head of UNHCR, the
if hookers and blows your thing,
Filippo Grandi's
the hookers are going to get cheaper. The blow might be going up though.
Moldova, trying to see how best we can assist. Our services are with those governments, and this is just the focus on inside Ukraine. Let's not outside Ukraine. Let's not forget it's an unclear inside Ukraine where UNHCR is also present and working to help people as we can.
When you say more is needed, can you tell us specifically what is the greatest need at the moment?
Everything. I mean, what we have seen is as 1.5 million have arrived in the neighboring countries and beyond, people have been offering them help in terms of opening their own homes.
Why is it getting Indian guys? Because there's so many Indian. Because there's lots of Indian students in Ukraine. I never knew that, by the way, but apparently so. Or there seems to be problems with releasing money.
People earlier who were arriving, they knew where to go. They had their relatives. Now there are more at the reception centers that need to be notified in terms of finding a place for them. And also, let's not forget at the borders, it's very cold. Most of them who have left Ukraine are women and children, and they have been queuing up for hours, for days as well. So they need support as they enter the neighboring countries of Ukraine. So the call of solidarity is not only in the region, in the neighboring countries, but goes beyond as well. And as we have seen in many
Russia, we love in
that the neighbors step forward in terms of providing that safety
resources
and
in it. Just tying up money and resources that could be getting funneled into fucking them up.
But aid organisations working at the border have said their resources are now stretched to the limit. Do other countries need to be stepping in more now?
Take it to the limit.
Exactly. This is an effort where everyone has to be involved. Take it to the limit. Launched an appeal of funding for not only inside Ukraine,
nothing like a good
but also for refugees in the
karaoke for the 80s.
There have been many who have come, businesses, individuals, and governments. But this is a movement
the misery
where
of
not
war.
only Europe has to come in solidarity, helping all those that are receiving refugees, but also others who are beyond Europe.
So let's get this straight. Because of what's happening in Ukraine, it's now Europe's responsibility to absorb the 1.5 million refugees, rock up and give them a fucking air force, and continue to give them ammunition, bombs, bullets, and training, and everything else they need to fight a war against Russia.
Just across the border from me, one thing is constant: the flow of people coming through. These people have just crossed over the border from Ukraine. Their journeys to get here have been long. They've been uncertain. We've been seeing the scenes back in Lviv of what has been happening.
A few protein bars will see you through, man. I don't know what all the fuss is.
Through with their cars, leaving their cars, running out of fuel, crossing by foot, like all of these people that have just literally crossed the border.
See, if I didn't know any better, she was taking a Sunday afternoon stroll
an opportunity to just get something
through a car boot sale.
First time to get something to eat. This whole community, this whole centre has popped up and it's very transient. We've been here all week. Things change. Tents pop up, tents go. But what is constant also,
car boot sale.
The flow of people coming across the border is the support that Poland is offering to those people who have fled. Volunteers.
See, I told you, car boot sale.
Bringing off, dropping off things that.
I'm pretty sure I can see people buying and selling stuff.
The milk formula, the food for the children who are exhausted and they're overwhelmed.
Car boot sale.
Really, really touching is just the little moments of generosity. How people just bring. People that have
Watford have equalised, bastards.
But this is the absolute first moment these people have crossed into this country, and there is a sense of calmness and there is a sense of just exhaustion given what they have been through.
Car boot Sunday afternoon car boot sale. Look, here we go.
Explaining, we've got
hurry, Mrs. Murray. Car boot. I told you, man. This is a car boot sale.
Is driving on to another town who can take a family of and then gives the amount, and this is continuous. This is
hurry, Mrs. Murray.
Bits of paper explaining we'll take such and such, we'll take you on, we'll provide you transport, things for free.
Car boot sale with sleeves.
Day in, day out on this border as the people come across.
$200.
It's cold here. It is snowing every
I'm telling you, that is a car boot sale.
People that have just come across, they have spent days getting to the border.
Jeez, how much for that? How much?
A queue of people waiting to get on a bus. A bus will then take them to the next part of their stage of their journey.
You're saying if I give you a fiver, can you get me some
see one of these reception areas, how it
orange
was
killapos,
or
whatever they're called,
and then they move on across the whole of Poland. People are opening
a packet of those wee banger things.
What to do if you want to take a refugee family in? Large Ukrainian community in Poland. They're all coming together, bringing these people to their homes. Again,
spots up, 2 for a pound now. 2 for a pound now.
That more and more people continue to cross this border. Over 900,000 people come into Poland.
2 for a pound now.
Lighters
5 for a quid.
Coming into this country in such a short space of time. They all need help. They all need attention. They all need rest.
Calm down, Hen. It's only a car boot sale. I know it seems a wee bit hustle and bustle at first.
Ukraine border. The American Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, has said the United States is considering a deal which would involve Poland supplying Ukraine with fighter jets. Yesterday, President Zelensky appealed to the US Senate for
get a shiny new Air Force
because his military knows how to fly them. Our diplomatic correspondent James Landale reports.
Take it to the
What
limit.
Ukraine wants is more air cover. More planes like these keeping the
Tell you what I want, what I really, really want.
So
Tell me what you
now
want,
there's
what you
a plan
really,
for the
really
West
want.
to give more jets
I want a really, really, really shiny new Air Force.
America's top diplomat was visiting Moldova today, where he confirmed Poland might give some of its warplanes to Ukraine.
Woo! It's a warplane giveaway. They call me crazy. They think I'm mental. They call me. There's warplanes given away today. 2 for a pound. 2 for a pound.
Should Poland decide to produce those, supply those planes.
Wow.
What Ukraine says it really wants is a no-fly zone.
What really, really wants. I'll tell you what I want. What I really, really want. I want a really, 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 really shiny new Air Force.
Most of the destruction is coming from artillery. It's
Oh,
not
hold on,
coming
man.
from
This
Russian
guy's
aircraft.
got some
And then
dials
if
on
we
him,
were
man.
to
Look
place
at
a
that.
no-fly zone,
Woo!
it means that we
He
probably
must
have to
have.
take
He
out
must have
Russian defense
completed the
systems,
whole.
and
He
we
must
would
have been to the
NATO
BB quite a
aircraft
lot.
in the air alongside Russian aircraft, and then the potential of shooting them down, and then that leads to an escalation.
And amid the fighting, the diplomacy.
You go for his dials to
This
my
morning,
big dial.
Israel's Prime Minister briefed his cabinet on his talks yesterday with Vladimir Putin.
Even if the
chance
is not great, and as soon as there's even a small opening, I see this as our moral obligation to make every effort.
And all the while, the flow of refugees
man.
out of Ukraine
The
continues
guns,
to grow.
the
Today,
bombs,
United Nations
the
High Commissioner for
bullets,
Refugees,
the
Filippo
planes
Grandi,
are now
said they number more
flowing.
than 1.5
Ching,
million people.
ching,
What he
it's
described as the
raining
fastest
bullets.
growing refugee
Hallelujah,
crisis in Europe
it's
since World War
raining
II.
bullets. Hell yeah!
Help of other country is
I'm gonna kill
very
myself.
important for us, really. It's
Some
a really
Ruskies.
As Western economic sanctions begin to have an impact in Moscow, Visa and MasterCard announced that they would cease their operations in Russia. Banks in Russia insisted that cards
not in
issued by
Russia.
them would continue to work.
Out
James
international
Landau, BBC
shit with
News.
Russia.
Pope Francis has said that the Russian invasion of Ukraine is producing rivers of blood and tears. Addressing crowds in St. Peter's Square in Rome, he countered Russia's
Oh, you'd be
assertion
loving it
that
then,
this is
Pope.
a military
Right
operation,
up your fucking
saying
street,
it
your
is a
book's
war
fucking full of
leading
it,
to
man.
death, destruction,
You
and misery. He's also asked
you
Russia
fucking
to
commit
allow the
mass.
humanitarian corridors to evacuate
Mass,
civilians.
all sorts of shit to that.
And Russian Orthodox priests from around the world are speaking out against the invasion of Ukraine. Hundreds of priests have signed an open letter calling for peace. One priest in Moscow told the BBC that the war was a crime and urged Russian President Vladimir Putin to stop before it's too late. It comes on Forgiveness Sunday, which marks the start of Lent. Our religious affairs
give him a
reporter
break
Harry
then.
Farley has more.
Keep putting a break.
Their countries at war. But here in Durham, Ukrainians and Russians sit side by side. Today is Forgiveness Sunday in the Orthodox Church calendar.
Come on, Arsenal,
As
get
part
your
of their
fucking
ritual,
finger out.
they bow, asking each other for forgiveness.
I think it's the job of the church to speak up against power. My message would be withdraw the troops, stop killing people.
And it's not just here that Orthodox Christians oppose the invasion.
What the fuck is that?
In Russia, it's forbidden to call the conflict a war. But I spoke to one priest in Moscow who we're not identifying, who is clear about the reality.
What matters is that people die. Many people lose their lives. And this is a crime.
What would your message be to President Putin?
To stop the war. To stop. To stop before it is too late.
Right, they've blurred his face out. That could be fucking wee Bob from down the street.
Are you scared about speaking out?
Yes, they really, Putin would really,
No,
give
I'm
me,
afraid because there are
doll
some
you up in a
priorities in
fucking
life. There are
poncho and a
situations where it is
fucking
not possible
necklace.
not to speak the truth, no matter how scary it is.
Religion
Could be anybody.
Vladimir Putin.
Could be absolutely anybody.
He said
And of
Ukraine
course, we
shares
just
a
blindly
spiritual
trust the
space
BBC.
with Russia. In Putin's mind, Moscow is not just a great political power, it's a great religious one too. He enjoys support from the head of the Russian Orthodox Church, Patriarch Kirill. But here in Durham and in Moscow, Orthodox priests are speaking out against Putin's war.
Here in Durham! Was that Gandalf looking
have
cunt?
suspended their services in Russia.
Fuck
they
me,
say
man.
any transactions made with cards issued in Russia will no longer work outside the country. Cards issued outside Russia can no longer be used at the country's banks
People
or
dress up
cash
like
points.
wizards.
Russia's major banks suggest that the effects will be limited. Let's talk now to our business correspondent Simon Browning about this. So just tell us exactly what is being limited here.
Well, this is a major move by some of the biggest names in global finance, Visa and MasterCard, as you just mentioned, and they join a growing cohort of businesses who are voicing their objection to what's happening in Ukraine and continue to put tough measures in place to...
It's the absolute definition of virtue signalling in all these people. I mean, if these motherfuckers didn't fund it, there would be no war.
fight against Russia's economy. Now, we've found out today that Visa and MasterCard decided last night that they would withdraw services and suspend services in Russia. Now, if you have a Visa or a MasterCard in Russia and it's issued by a Russian bank, it will continue to work if you are a Russian citizen, because the Russian government mandated and created an internal payment system. So if you have a Visa or MasterCard in Russia, it will continue to work. But as you said, if you are a Russian who has left the country and you have a Russian bank account with a Visa,
are you hearing that?
Or MasterCard symbol, it will not work if you have now left Russia. That means
virtue signalling, fucking watered down bullcrap pieces of shit just to make it look like they're doing something.
That lots of people who've left Russia in the last couple of weeks.
And remember, boycott McDonald's. You know, just to fuck... I might actually just phone a McDonald's today just to fucking annoy the BBC.
Weeks. I've been seeing on Twitter today independent journalists who've left Russia in the last couple of weeks now can't access their funds in their bank accounts, their savings, because their accounts have been frozen. So if you're inside Russia with a Russian Visa card or MasterCard, it will continue to work because of the Russian internal payment system taking charge of those payments. But if you've left Russia and you have a Russian account, it will no longer work and you won't be able to get access to your funds.
Well, because of that, the major banks in Russia are suggesting that the impact of this in Russia might be limited. But these are not the only companies that are taking a stand.
Yes, as I mentioned, Visa and MasterCard join a growing cohort of companies who are mounting and voicing their objections to what's happening in Ukraine. Yesterday, we saw Samsung, the biggest provider in smartphones in Russia, stop sending new shipments of phones into Russia itself. That was after a direct appeal from the Ukrainian Deputy Prime Minister, who literally tweeted a letter to the head of Samsung saying, please stop selling these phones within Russia. They've stopped sending shipments, so if you're a young person in Russia, you'll no longer be able to get an upgrade or a new phone. Zara, one of the biggest fashion retailers in the world, and their group closed all 502 stores in Russia from today, so there'll be no more access to up-to-date and on-trend fashions. And PayPal, another very popular payment service, very popular with you.
Oh my God, there'll be no up-to-date fashion. You know, I'm pretty sure Putler is fucking pissed off he can't get that new skirt.
Young people also suspended operations, and that joins Apple and numerous others who are all now voicing their objection to what is happening between Russia and Ukraine. So yes, the list of businesses that are continuing to voice their objection continues to grow.
That list is growing, but what about the impact? How is this actually being felt in Russia, and is it leading to anything meaningful?
It's the big question, and that's what we're trying to find out from young people who are working at these Zara stores. What are they being told by their employers, Zara, for instance, or other brands, when all of a sudden their shops are closed? Other companies, we know advertising agencies are pulling out of Russia. What are their employers telling them?
I know, fuck off home and go and starve, you fucking arseholes. Yeah, the West aren't punishing the normal Russians, we're punishing the oligarchs. This is fucked up. Can you imagine? Right, if because of what happened in Iraq, people started fucking pulling out fucking other businesses for the West and all that? Can you imagine if that similar shit happened? Be all sorts of legal Anyway, I'm not even going to go
employees
there.
about their reasons for leaving and closing down businesses. So there's lots of questions as to how these discussions are being had with employees at the moment, as to how and why these reasons are being taken.
I'm sure we'll see more of the impact with time. Simon Browning, thank you very much.
Here, Punk, Russians are ahead of the game. They wear shell suits long enough, they'll come back into fashion. That's my excuse for my wardrobe anyway. In the afternoon, Punk, hopefully you're all good.
Well, Vadim Ivchenko is a Ukrainian MP who's been collecting evidence of alleged Russian war crimes. He's been speaking with my colleague Yalda Hakim, who is in Lviv. I'm now near the Kiev. Today we were convoying a food supply to Kiev, the metal construction, anti-tank construction which we put on the road. So we were trying to convoy medicine as well, and back we are convoying the children from Ahmadiet and children from the families to the west and to the other countries. Right now the situation is quite stable. You know, the some
just don't tell the fashion magazines, Punk, it will put them out of business like that.
Was targeting to my friend's house in Bila Tserkva. It is 60 kilometers from Kiev. It's just everything destroyed. I mean, the civilian house and the 20 houses.
It's the same again, isn't it?
A lot of
telling you
missiles, a lot of bombs near the Kiev.
Somebody would think there was a war going on, or Russia was trying to invade something or something. You know, it's like, oh, look at this. There's things blowing up. Yep, things blowing up. So blown up and so bad that I'm not going to show you. I'm just going to point the camera at my face, even though it's a mobile phone and the clues and the name.
Outside of Kiev. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yesterday and at night, the cities near the Kiev is bombed. It's Vasilkiv, it's Abukhov, it's Fastov, and other cities is bombed. When the people sleeping, the bomb just shooting on the civilian neighborhoods, and of course as well.
Is that no mental? Is that no the sign of a sociopath telling the civilian population to stand up to military?
Machine guns from all over
the
city, and you know a lot of people.
Here, you old woman, drop those 2 bags and pick up an AK. Now, stop!
On the road, just leaving the Kiev and the Kiev region.
Yeah, so you're saying that in those places that were bombed yesterday, it's stable today, so people are trying to get out now and evacuate. Are they heading west towards places like Lviv and then towards the borders to get out?
The situation is quite difficult to explain, because in the east it is just totally destroyed. Some cities like Kharkiv, Chernigov, and the people try to move to the west. And in the west, its situation is quite difficult as well. It's no places where to live. It's no enough food for them. So a lot of people staying on the queue just to cross the border. That's a real situation. No, it's like if you imagine yourself like a computer game when the people just escape from a lot of cities.
The destruction of
people.
So they're talking about
reconsider this potential no-fly zone. They've obviously ruled it out.
The non-fly zone to make this non-fly zone over the Ukraine.
I just want to ask you about humanitarian corridors, because of course
on the beginning. Russian police have again moved to break up anti-war protests in many cities. According to one independent monitoring group, by 3 p.m. Moscow time, nearly 1,800 demonstrators had been arrested in 44 cities. More than 300 people were detained in Moscow. Maria Kuznetsova, spokesperson for the OVD Info Monitoring Group, said that the screws are being fully tightened and we are essentially witnessing...
Right, they're now talking to heads at NGOs and all that, right? Anyway, so I'm going to try and do this tomorrow afternoonish as well, either at 12 or 1 o'clock. Just as a wee sort of a head-to-head comparison of the double-barrel bullshit. And people can make up their own mind. And as well as a kind of thumbs up to fucking them trying to block RT. Stuff like that really grinds my gears, gets in my goat, gets in my furry bits. So thanks for joining everybody that has, had and will. Make sure you thumbs it up if you get a giggle and appreciate what I do. Check out his dials. And tune in tomorrow afternoon-ish if you want to see another comparison of the double barrel bullshit. And Tuesday night for not info. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Go and have a good roast. Yeah. Alright everybody. Catchies. Clips, clips. And remember, citizens, the only way to survive and thrive is to subscribe and hit the bell. Everything will be well. 1995. Keep you out of hell. Cheers.